It is a new day. Light begins to dawn. Rays of life, giving energy, break forth in glorious splendor. It is the dawning of a new day in consciousness. The light of illumination begins to break upon you from within. You are a spiritual being, a light being. You have been endowed with 12 cosmic powers, 12 gifts of light: faith, strength, wisdom, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, order, enthusiasm, release, life. Accept your 12 powers. Burst forth into the dawning of a new way of life. Just imagine your own professional team of experts guiding you through a whole brain learning experience of your 12 powers. A minister, psychotherapist, and medical doctor help you to develop your power of imagination.
We all have the power of imagination. Imagination is our picturing power, and often it's called visualization today. Images are the language of the body. We talk to our body with images. Our body doesn't hear words as much as it hears and feels images. Now, let me take this lemon and suck on it. Now, you see me doing this, and you probably start to pucker and salivate. Now, I haven't given you any direction to do so, but the image comes to you, and you have a physical reaction, don't you? Our imagination powerfully affects us then physically. In the same way, if I was injured and I wanted to recover and walk again, I would picture myself standing and walking, and this would send a signal to my muscles to work in accomplishing this. Albert Einstein, the great quantum physicist, said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." He also said, "We live in a sea of energy." So Einstein and others have shown that we live in a universe where everything is existing at various rates of vibration. We often say, where our thought goes, energy flows. Energy takes on the shape or pattern of our self-image or our mindset into which it flows. Now, these bottles can represent the way we imagine ourselves to be. And we have bottles of various shapes and colors. If we pour clear water into them, the water looks brown or green or blue or red or rainbow. And it also takes on the shape of the bottle. So we're always giving shape and color to our life by our power of imagination. Remember, we shape and can reshape our lives. The American transcendentalist Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "What we can conceive and believe, we can achieve." And of course, we want to use this powerful, creative ability to produce and achieve as guided by our other powers that we've been studying, such as wisdom and love, order and understanding. So we're always shaping a life, a home, a career, a marriage, a school experience, a retirement. And people sometimes say, though, "Oh, it's just your imagination," as if it's all in your head. It doesn't exist, really. Don't you trivialize your power of imagination, because when it's joined with your power of faith, imagination is especially great in bringing forth the things you hold in mind. The great artist Michelangelo took a discarded old piece of marble and carved out his famous statue of David. And when asked, how did he do such a marvelous thing, a marvelous statue, he said, "I just took away everything that was not David." James Allen wrote a popular little book called As a Man Thinketh. And he had a poem that he wrote years ago. Mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought, and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but his looking glass. The old saying is, Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. So, what are you holding in your mind? What are you feeding into your imagination? Shakespeare wrote of the power of imagination when he said, "We find tongues in trees, books in running brooks, sermons in stones, and good in everything." Open your eyes and your imagination to see a world of wonder and miracles all around you.
Imagination plays an essential role in designing our lives, in literally creating our life. How does this work? How can we be more aware of how this power of imagination works? When David and I were traveling on an extensive 2-year book tour, we both received signs and inner promptings that it was time to stop the tour and settle down. Now, this was different from our plan because we still had a number of speaking engagements left on our calendar. These signs and signals took the form of dreams and feelings of completion and images of being in our new home that was being built in the east coast of South Florida, often called the Gold Coast. These intuitive images also took the form of daydreams and processing what it would be like to be in that new life. Fantasy images were dancing around in my brain. As I was receiving these intuitive feelings and thoughts, my practical side wanted to sort out the information, to ask for clear guidance and direction, using more of my powers like wisdom and judgment and order and understanding. David and I shared our different thoughts and feelings, and although our tour was not complete, we both felt as though it was time to stop. Have you ever been in this situation? Feeling as though a change is ready to happen in your life? A new relationship is coming, a new beginning in a career, or a fresh start is needed, and you're receiving the inner promptings. It doesn't necessarily mean that something's gone wrong or turned sour. You just feel as though there's something new that's going to emerge and needs your cooperation or assistance. At these times, I especially tune into my extrasensory perceptions. I ask for messages and signs and make them as big as a billboard so I don't miss them. As David and I were asking these questions, imagining what the next phase of our life might be like, we were walking on a beach, and I looked along the sandy shoreline, asking the question, is it time to follow a new path and make a fresh start? I looked in the sand just ahead of us, and there was a big message literally written in the sand. And the message said, "Gold is here, follow up." I couldn't believe my eyes. I'd never seen a message actually written in the sand, and it was so appropriate to our question. I pulled David over with great excitement and enthusiasm. I said, "Look, gold is here, follow up." Thankfully, with all the other messages and signs we both saw, we made a life-changing decision to begin a new life. We moved to the Gold Coast of Florida. We finished the manuscript of our book, Golden Eggs. We started a radio program, and a wonderful ministry opened up in Hollywood, Florida. This truly began one of the most fulfilling and joyful times in our lives. We renewed our friendship with Dr. Robert Knapp, and these TV programs are a part of a new life we continue to create, all because we tuned in. We listened to the intuition. We received the messages from within. The wonderful message in the sand said, "Follow up. This is the time. Your gold, your good is here." What kind of messages are you receiving? What kind of life are you imagining for yourself? We often say, can you imagine that? What signs and intuitive impressions are coming to you? Listen, your good is here. Follow up.
Like David and Gaylin, have you ever tried to look into the future? To gaze into a crystal ball to see a vision? To look way back into your past? Well, you don't need an actual crystal ball to do this, because you already have one right in the center of your head. It's called your thalamus, and it's this egg-shaped organ here that's located just below your cerebrum. Our power of imagination expresses by way of this thalamus. This is where we receive psychic impressions. Here's where we create new images. When we see into other dimensions, when we hear an inner voice, when we use our intuition, all of these occur by way of our thalamus. So how does this work? Well, psychic impressions register first out in our auric field, especially in this area in front of our forehead. And this is commonly called our third eye, the cosmic, all-seeing eye. Do you know that even on the backside of our $1 bill, there's a drawing of the third eye at the top of a pyramid? So, images, thoughts, psychic impressions register first in our third eye. And from there, they travel to the thalamus, to this inner crystal ball. And then the thalamus relays the images and impressions to our cerebrum, where we begin to understand and to make sense of them. We not only receive images and intuitive impressions in this way, but we also use our thalamus to create and to send out new images. Think of the thalamus as being like a television picture tube. And this creates images and it projects them out onto a television screen. And we do the same thing in our thalamus. We create images and then our thalamus projects them out and onto our third eye, which sometimes is called our third eye screen. And from there they get broadcast out to all parts of our aura, our energy field, and they get imprinted right down into the physical body. Why is this so important? This ability that we have to create new images. Because this is how we grow. It's how we change and how we heal ourselves and others. Years ago, I had pain in my right shoulder after I fell down on it. And with rest and time, the pain did go away. And then periodically, my shoulder would start aching again. It'd start hurting. I'd be out playing golf, and suddenly I could hardly swing my club. I had x-rays taken and they showed no structural problem. And I tried many therapies. Stretching exercises helped, as did chiropractic adjustments and massage. But then the pain would return. So I started working more with my imagination faculty. In my meditation, I was shown a vivid green ethereal light, which to me represented healing and harmony. So I envisioned that green healing light flowing right into my shoulder. And each time I did this, my shoulder would feel better. During one of these visualizations, it dawned on me that my shoulder pain usually flared up when I was feeling that I couldn't shoulder my responsibilities. I felt like my load was just too heavy to bear. And then I was guided from within to imagine myself being 7 to 8 feet tall. And in this tall body, I was a being of light. This was a body of light. And I would envision myself rising up into this higher frequency. And when I did, I would leave behind the feelings of, oh, poor little old me, I can't do this. And instead, I felt like I had the power to do all that I was given to do. My shoulders were broad and strong, and they were powerful. In response to this new image, over many months, my shoulder pain gradually diminished, and eventually it disappeared altogether. Perhaps you are having some difficulty with some part of your body. If so, create a new image. Visualize that area being filled with healing light. And then, in due time, as you see it, so will it be.
Imagination is the scissors of the mind. We are cutting out our life from the universal bolt of divine material. It's the raw material, but we mold and shape it as we will. Often people use a helpful technique called a treasure map to picture what they are seeking to have made manifest in their life experience. We cut out pictures and words that form a kind of prayer map that helps to stimulate and focus our power of imagination on what we want. Some people make an image book that also helps to focus on positive qualities we want to incorporate and express. We call this visualization, mental programming, name it and claim it. And most of the goal setting and achieving uses this technique. You see it, claim it, picture it happening, feel it strongly as real here and now. And this kind of visualization is especially useful in health and healing work, as pioneered by Dr. Carl Symington, Dr. Norman Shealy, Dr. Bernie Siegel in his book, Love, Medicine, and Miracles, and other medical doctors, such as our own Dr. Robert Knapp. We focus our thought and mental picturing power on seeing and feeling ourselves being strong, healthy, whole and well. Many coaches and athletes use visualization to improve their abilities. They practice using mental rehearsals, seeing themselves at peak performance. And this mental focusing often works in quick and spectacular ways. A caution about this specific kind of visualization. I may treasure map and picture myself getting what I have been programmed or taught to want by advertising, peer group pressure, or other conformity. And this may or may not be what's really best for me. Again, we have to use our powers of wisdom and love to know what is best for each of us, for the highest good of all of us. So there's specific imagery, visualization, scissors of the mind, treasure mapping, set a goal and see it being achieved. There's another way that we can use our power of imagination. It's best summed up in the well-known familiar phrase, let go and let God. And this is what I call open-ended imagination. We just open ourselves to a flow of images rather than consciously thinking up and holding images. It goes beyond what we already know about and want to the realm that we don't know about. And this is the truly creative realm of ourselves, where artists and inventors, writers, musicians, poets, visionaries, and just ordinary people open themselves to images or thoughts that just come from their own inner genius. Gay Lynn told about the true story of this message that she saw in the sand of an ocean beach, indicating to us that we were to go here to the Gold Coast of Florida and follow up. And we followed that message and waited for some time before the next phase of our life, adventure and work opened before us, but open it did. These images that come to us as inspirations in outer signs, in dreams, in a flash, a feeling of intuition, or something that we just run across, or a song that we hear. These can be powerful and transformative. They come as images, just as that inspiration came to the poet psalmist who wrote, "The Lord is my shepherd. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul." And how comforting, strengthening, encouraging these powerful images have been to those in distress, grief, confusion over many centuries. Simple images of protection, care, serenity. So in this open-ended, unconditioned way of imaging, we pray with images. We don't just play with images. We receive and learn from these images that come to our open mind. I see myself as God sees me, whole, free, and happy to be alive. I am glad to be who I am. I am developing a better self-image each day, and my self-image is based on knowing I am made in the image of God. I have the power of imagination to form my thoughts, to color my feelings, and to take charge of my own life.
Have you ever heard yourself or someone else say, "I can't do that. It's impossible. Why does this always happen to me?" As I've worked with people in counseling, I've heard this so many times, and I often use the illustration of a palette of paint. We are the artists of our lives. We are the artists in residence, and we have all these wonderful colors to choose from, a wonderful range of greens and blues and purples, and many times we're only painting with a few colors, like blue. We even say, "I'm feeling blue, blah, I'm depressed." Nothing changes. Sometimes we've gotten into a rut. We're not really using our imagination. Has this ever happened to you? Have you felt like your imagination has become inactive and you lack foresight? You're maybe stuck in one way of thinking. This would be like using only one color to paint a picture. That can be pretty boring. So we need to stretch and experiment and imagine new possibilities. Try new colors and contrasts and blends. We have an artist with us today, Mally Grimshaw Pettit, and she's here to show us that painting, like life, is a process. And the most important thing is that we begin to use our imagination. Mally.
Yes, Galen, and that's the most difficult thing for most people, is to imagine what they're going to do and to begin the process. And the most difficult thing about painting is to begin, and you have to begin somewhere. You put your paintbrush into the paint and you put it on the canvas, and you start working with your brush strokes and laying up your colors that you have chosen to work on your painting, so that you can start working with the ideas that you have in mind.
What blocks the process when we're painting, or even in our life, Mally?
Well, unfortunately, somewhere along the line, people who have been working with their creativity might not have been well received. They might have been criticized. Someone might have said, you can't do that, and unfortunately, the child in us believed that, and they never tried to do it again. But ways to get out of that and ways to unblock it is to go beyond it and try to do it. Turn the I can't into I can, you know.
And if that means that we have to start finger painting, we start from wherever it is that we feel most comfortable. And I've done that. I've started with finger paints and then moved up from there.
Well, that's exactly right. Most people probably left their creativity in the sandbox.
That's right.
So they have to go back to the sandbox.
That's right. We are the artists of our lives. And like the Queen asked Alice in Wonderland, do you imagine impossible things? No, Alice responds. Well, said the Queen, I try to imagine at least 5 impossible things before breakfast. What new healing can you envision? What new life would you like to create? What new colorful changes can you imagine for yourself? I'm in the pink, feeling good. And then the world I live in and the people I see also look different. And we bring new vision of hope and life into the world. This is how you begin to heal your body. This is how you start to heal your emotional wounds. This is how you recover from feeling depressed and abandoned. Paint a new portrait of your life. Just imagine. Just imagine.
If your eye is single, then your whole body will be filled with light. This is the beautiful way that Jesus described how we use our imagination to heal ourselves and others. What is this eye that he referred to? It's our third eye, our all-seeing cosmic eye. And how do we keep this single? By focusing only on the good, the love, the wholeness, and the holiness that's within each and every one of us. And then our whole being and our whole body are filled with light. When I was first learning how to keep my eyes single, my dreams guided me to work with my parents. You see, so much of our self-image, of how we see ourselves and others, comes from our early experiences with our family. And like so many people, I had emotional scar tissue from my childhood that involved my whole family. And all of us needed healing of these past traumas. I was given a visualization technique which I especially used with my mom. In meditation, I would focus first on the top of my head, on my crown chakra and brain. And here's where we initially feel the communion with our higher power, our higher self. And then I saw and felt that power flowing into my third eye, my imagination center in the forehead region. And then the flow of power traveled down my neck, out my arms, and into my hands, which are used to lovingly manipulate and to transfer the higher energy. Next, my heart center became stimulated and filled with love. And then the power flowed down my spine, down my legs, and out my feet. Now I was grounded and anchored in the higher power. My eye was single, and my whole body was filled with light. Next, I envisioned my mom sitting right in front of me, about 2 or 3 feet away from me. And then I focused on the good within her. I visualized her being filled with glorious light. And this light poured out of me, out of my third eye, into her. And I opened up my heart, and I loved her unconditionally. And I would ask her to forgive me as I was forgiving her. I lifted up my hands sometimes and transferred power through them to her until I saw her being completely filled with this higher power. These sessions commonly lasted 10 to 15 minutes and were repeated hundreds of times over the years. And gradually, the pain of my childhood was replaced with the eternal bond of love that I felt for her. Now, believe me, it wasn't always easy. And it took more than just visualization. It took lots of talking and loving actions. But we did become dear and close friends, a loving mother and her loving son, two children of God who loved one another. What had begun as a new image became a living reality for both of us. And the same thing happened with the rest of my family. You too can heal anything from your childhood. Keep focusing on the good within yourself and within your family members. Keep holding a new and more loving and healthier image of each one of them. Through all of the many ups and downs, keep your eye single, and your whole family will be filled with light. And then they too can learn to transfer and share this light and love with all of the mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, children everywhere around our beloved globe. Then the whole human family will be filled with light and with love.
Images are powerful. Our mind and body respond to what we image and see.
Probably start to pucker.
I follow my intuition and messages from within and all around me. I follow up.
Written in the sand.
I see clearly by way of my third eye and thalamus what I see will be.
Onto our third eye.
My imagination is the scissors of my mind. I visualize good health, abundance, and loving relationships in my life.
Mold and shape it as we will.
I use all of the colors to paint a beautiful and creative life.
Imagine for yourself.
I create new images to heal and harmonize my relationships.
Loved her unconditionally.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. imaged a unified nation and human family when he said, "I have a dream." Let's wake up and dream.